What's going on, everyone? When the Dallas Mavericks lost Luka, there were many concerns about how Dallas would fare in the playoffs, and many people thought that they could potentially get swept. And then Jalen Brunson had a monstrous run. I mean, one of the huge benefactors of Luka going down was Jalen Brunson. He was able to just display his scoring prowess and really just blew up as an actual player and blew up his way into a max contract. And there are many rumors and speculations going around of what's going to happen. Is Dallas going to offer him a max? Is he going to stay with Dallas? Should Dallas move off of him? What is going to happen? And one of the teams that has been rumored for some time to go after Brunson is the New York Knicks. Now, the New York Knicks, they have his dad on the coaching staff now. They also recently moved off of Alec Burke and Nerlens Noel, sending them to the Detroit Pistons to free up another roughly $19 million in cap space, so that way they could go and sign Jalen Brunson for roughly $110 million contract, which is what's being reported, which is what's being rumored, which is $10 million more than the $100 million that was originally thought to be presented to Jalen Brunson for his new contract when he renews. The question and concern is, though, is one, at that point, does Dallas try to match that or do what they can to entice Jalen Brunson to stay? Because that's a lot of money to put into an undersized guard who, yes, he had this incredible run, but in reality, no one knows if he's going to continue to be that guy. There's a lot of questions. He wasn't that guy prior. Like, nobody was talking about Jalen Brunson, 3 or 4 months ago. He was at best a 10 to 15 million a year type of player, and then just had this impeccable run that now he's going to be a 25 to 27 million a year player, which is just insane. And you have a team like the New York Knicks who are more than happy to overpay for Jalen Brunson. And that's exactly what's going to happen. They're going to overpay for him. And Dallas, do you really want to be in the position to where, let's say he ends up becoming just that role player? He becomes this guy that isn't able to live up to that hype and isn't able to consistently be that guy. Then now you have all this money committed, and now you have a contract you can't even trade without giving out a bunch of assets. I actually think this is a blessing in disguise for the Dallas Mavericks, but for the New York Knicks, I don't understand it. I don't understand why they are so heavily pursuing Jalen Brunson and trying to basically clear their entire roster and clear all of this cap space to go get Brunson, and a guy that you have no idea what he could become. I mean, they went and got Kemba Walker, and that didn't work out. Stuff like that. Like, it's just, to me, it feels like another move that the New York Knicks is going to make to try to be relevant, and it's not going to work out, and it's just going to be terrible, and they're going to be stuck with this guy for the next, 4 years at $110 million. I just don't think this is the right move for the New York Knicks, because you're going to go and put all this money into Jalen Brunson. That's great, but what's your identity? What are you as a team? You're RJ Barrett and you're Jalen Brunson. Like, is RJ Barrett really that good? Is the two of them really going to lead you to a playoffs? There's still a lot of question marks about Barrett. He's had his moments, he's had his flashes where he looks like he could be that guy, but he could just become an Andrew Wiggins, where, yeah, he's good, he's a solid player, but he's not a number 1 or number 2 option. He's really a better 3 or 4 option. And now you're in this predicament where you have these max contracts that you can't move, and you're just kind of stuck, and now you're irrelevant for another 4 or 5 years. It just feels like a Knicks mistake all over again that the New York Knicks continuously seem to make. But the other thing is, too, is that, like, we've seen this happen more times than not. Like, think of, like, guys like Chandler Parsons, right? I mean, he had, like, this 10-game stretch where he was amazing, gets a max contract, and he's out of the league before his contract is up. Like, we've seen it time and time again. These players that have these great runs and just go on this, like, hot streaks, but that's all it ever was a hot streak. And then you have some team that's the sucker that goes and pays all this money. They get overpaid, and they're never able to live up to it. And the problem is Brunson doesn't offer you much outside of scoring. I mean, yeah, he can play make a little, but he's not, Chris Paul. He's nothing along those lines. And if he can't be that scoring option, then what do you have with Brunson? You have an undersized guard who can't play defense and can't really score. The other thing is, too, that I don't think a lot of people have mentioned, or I haven't at least seen in conversations when we talked about Jalen Brunson, is that Jalen Brunson, his run was because teams didn't, even think about him. He was irrelevant. And I don't mean that in a negative light, but I mean, no teams were putting together defensive schemes to stop Jalen Brunson, right? Nobody thought, no team was going up and saying, okay, we need to do whatever we can to lock up Jalen Brunson. Like, teams probably weren't even really watching film on Jalen Brunson because he was just another guy on the Dallas Mavericks. And then he had this just ridiculous run that nobody was expecting, nobody was prepared for. But now people know that he could be that guy. Defenses are going to lock in on him now, especially if he is the number one option on a team like the New York Knicks. You know, teams are going to be able to stop him. And you have a lot of teams in the East with a lot of big wings that can guard him. And it's just going to make things very difficult for Brunson. Now, Brunson's still young enough to where he can improve. He could be better. I don't want to, just completely disregard Brunson. I mean, he still put himself in this position. So he deserves all the credit in the world. But it's just, there's so many concerns. And if I'm a Knicks fan, which I'm not, but if I'm a Knicks fan, I would be just petrified that the New York Knicks are going to do this. If it works out and he turns into, a Donovan Mitchell 2.0 and he's just this guy that can get you, 25 to maybe 50 a night, great. Then beautiful for the New York Knicks. But we've seen more times than not those undersized guards become complete. I mean, look at Isaiah Thomas. Isaiah Thomas had this just historic season, just unbelievable. And now he's struggling to get a job. And he looks like he's found a home, but it took years. It just going from team to team to team. And it's just, we've seen this too many times. And Jalen Brunson, all it takes is one injury, being an undersized guard, and now you're in trouble. But I think the biggest winner is the Dallas Mavericks. Like I was saying, I think that now Dallas doesn't have to feel obligated in committing to Jalen Brunson. And I know a lot of people feel like they should have went and paid Jalen Brunson sooner and that they really messed up and all of those things. But here's the thing. Nobody expected that. I don't think there's a person on the planet that was like, what's going to happen is Luka's going to go down. They're going to be in the first round of the playoffs and Brunson's going to go for 30 a night. Like, nobody was thinking that. It literally was just this domino effect of circumstances that led to that. If it wasn't for that, Brunson would probably have gotten like a $10 to maybe $15 million a year contract this year. And that's what Dallas was looking at. Okay, we're going to have to pay him $15 million. I just don't think that they should lock themselves into that, because if he doesn't work out and he isn't that second guy, then you're stuck with a $25 million a year contract that you can't trade, that you can't move. And that's what you don't want to do. I've again had conversations in past videos where we threw out ideas of like what's going to happen with him and stuff like that. And I've had people, mention like Dallas is kind of in this position where you almost have to pay him. But I just don't agree with that. I understand that you're still cap strapped. You still don't have, who are you replacing? But they still have plenty of guys that can be serviceable without him. And after this season, Dallas is going to have some more cap space that frees up and stuff. But you don't have that if you lock in Brunson. They have some expiring contracts that they could probably even move to go get another guy, go get another, not, I don't think star, but you could go get like a mid-tier guy, something along those lines. I just think that Dallas is better off just running it back without Brunson than locking him in, because there's too many uncertainties. Brunson has to be that number 2 guy night in and night out to justify his contract. And if he's not, you're not going to be able to move him. Maybe the Knicks would make a trade, but at that point it's why? Especially if he's, say he goes back to being, 12 to 15 point a game scorer. Now you're paying max money for a guy that is basically a role player again. And he's undersized. Nobody's going to want to give up a ton of stuff for him. And you're going to have to probably give up assets to get rid of him. I just think that the Dallas Mavericks and Luka win just so much if the Knicks decide to pick him up. I think secretly Dallas is just please. I know that they've came out and I know that they have said, we hope Jalen Brunson is part of this thing. But they haven't been we're signing Jalen Brunson for a max contract. He's our guy, all that. They haven't said those things. They're just kind of yeah, if he wants to stay with us, we hope that he does. It'd be nice to keep him around. Those generic, PC answers. But I just think secretly they're deep down are just please go sign with the Knicks. Please go sign with the Knicks. Don't put us in a position to where we have to make a decision, because we're damned if we do, we're damned if we don't. Because if they don't sign him, then you're going to have a lot of fans that are coming at you going, oh, look, you messed up. You should have signed Brunson, blah, 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 all that stuff. And then if you do sign him and he's terrible, everyone's going to be at you. Oh, look, you shouldn't have signed Brunson. You made the biggest mistake in the world. How could you be so silly? But if he just decides to go and sign with the Knicks, and it's like, we wish him the best. That sucks. We really wanted to keep him. You're clean. You're good. You're clear, because it makes a ton of sense, right? Like I said, his dad is on the coaching staff now. He has connections to Leon Rose and all this stuff. He has a lot of people in the New York Knicks organization that he considers family and friends and things like that. So I really do think that he's going to go there. And I think that that is just the biggest blessing for the Dallas Mavericks. But as always, this is a discussion, so I want to hear from you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. What do you think? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? What do you think is going to happen with Jalen Brunson? Do you think the Dallas Mavericks, do whatever you have to. Sign him to a max, give him the money, whatever it takes. You need to keep Jalen Brunson. Or do you think, no, let him go. Let him go sign with the Knicks. Let it go be the Knicks' problem. And, best of luck to the Knicks. And if you're a Knicks fan, how do you feel about this? Because, like I said, I would be petrified that they're going to give this guy, $26 million a year. And you're just going to, what is your identity if you're the Knicks? What is your team? What is your logic? What is your thinking? If you freed up all this cap space, that's great. But you're better off just, overpaying for some mid-tier guys for a year, going the JJ Redick route. Overpay for a couple guys and see what players want out next season. Maybe you get a Bradley Beal and somebody else, or something along those lines. Or maybe you absorb some contracts and get some assets, some more assets that you can use to go make a trade. Or you sign a Bradley Beal and then you go, because you have all this cap space, you go use the 22 picks that you have and package that together with some pieces and go get somebody else. And now you have a legit team. But no, they're going to lock themselves in a Brunson, who is not a number one option. I don't see him as, he's not the best player on an NBA championship team. At least that's my opinion. I don't think he is. Is he a number 2, number 3? Maybe. I think he's more of a number 3. I think he's the guy that you want to score in bunches. You want him to, if he can just be hot, he can get you, 18 to 20 a night. That is perfect for him. But I don't think he's that, if he's your guy that you're hoping to get 25 to 30 a night in and night out from, I just don't think he's that guy. But again, love to hear your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. That being said, hit that like button. Helps me out a lot. Lets me know you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button, followed by the bell notification. Stay up to date with all things sports. Join this wonderful community and all of our discussions. I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you.